Ahsoka, Balance of Truth, Book 1, Chapter 27. Kawani felt the ship lurch physically, and her nervousness kicked in. Explaining Zar was going to be a treat, she knew. Mere seconds later, she saw Ahsoka descending the ramp, and the pit of her stomach almost betrayed her. Why am I ashamed, she thought. Because she isn't going to like our arrangement one bit, and may just eject us both into the vacuum of space, ending your life and creating one hell of a paradox for my existence. Zar spoke into her mind. That's a little drastic, don't you think? Kawani voiced audibly. What? Ahsoka said. Huh? Kawani responded. Stop talking out loud or she will immediately think you're insane and end you right here, Zar said. Ichuta! Kawani said aloud again, followed by a slap to her forehead. Carking thoughts, again out loud, followed by another look of admonishment. Annie, did you inhale something? Ahsoka said, lifting a hand toward the Mirialan out of genuine concern. Tsar, just shut up, Kawani thought. No, but I have something to tell you, she spoke. I'm listening, Ahsoka responded, her hand retreating to meet the other as they crossed her chest. She tilted her body to the left, resting on that foot. Well, I'm not quite sure how to tell you. Out with it, Annie. So I found Zar again, or he found me might be more appropriate, and we melded, sort of, to help each other. Kind of, through a shared bond of mind and body. Kawani began, stuttering through what she thought was the worst explanation in their history. What are you doing? Zar insisted. Shut up and let me do this my way, unless, of course, you're going to kidnap my mouth and vocal abilities. Wait, can you do that? Never mind, just let me talk to her. For the love of... That's it, she's going to kill us both, Zar said frantically. No, she's not, damn it. Now shut the hell up and let me explain it to her, Kawani shouted into the cargo bay. You forgot to think that last remark, Zar reminded her. Poodoo, Kawani said with a tear in her eye, and from Ahsoka's estimation, a great deal of unwanted stress. She extinguished the blade. Thank you again for not decapitating us, Zar snuck in. You're welcome, Kawani responded. Ani, you are talking nonsense, and I am genuinely concerned, Ahsoka added. Kawani tossed the saber hilt into her unoccupied acceleration seat and placed her hands on her hips. Spinning in a tight circle, she took a deep breath and started over. Ahsoka, when you dealt with Zar, all you did was mobilize his curiosity. He has been lingering with us since, before we touched down on Dagobah, and has expressed an interest in learning from you, Kawani said as smoothly as she could muster, the confusion in her head wavering and stuttering some of the words, yet she was mostly secure in the knowledge that the message was received. The look on Ahsoka's face told her it had indeed bolstered her confidence to delve further into the truth. Kawani, Ani, his time is come and gone. What happens now is not meant for him to experience or affect, Ahsoka said slowly and carefully measured. Then why is he here, Ahsoka? If he can't be removed from this reality, then by what power do we have to say those things? The words were coming easier to Kawani now, and she was speaking from the heart. Ahsoka opened her mouth as if to speak and slowly closed it again. She lifted her index finger to her chin and spun slowly in thought. Ani, I can't argue with your point. To be honest, I thought I was helping him, and in so doing, I ended up performing something that should have been impossible. Perhaps there is merit to what you were saying. Really? I mean, well, of course, there could be, Kawani said, rolling her eyes in mock sarcasm. You're not getting off that easy, Ani, Ahsoka informed her. What did you mean by bond? Well, he is here, she patted her chest. That's disturbing as hell, Ani. Ahsoka gave the impression she was going to get sick. I don't know how else to describe it, Ahsoka, Kawani said with her hands open. I mean, it's not like he's physically within me. It's a spiritual connection, for lack of a better term. Ahsoka was quickly reminded of the errant TIE pilots while escaping Tatooine. That is not how I would have explained what I saw from experience. They, Kawani's hand flitted upward, couldn't observe the force at work, of weak mind, as Zar put it. Ahsoka, you're the one who told me to be aware of the will of the force, and some things require faith, not proof. When did I say that? Ahsoka looked confused. Well, you didn't, but it is most definitely something you would say, Kawani retorted. Ahsoka rolled her eyes and then remembered what had brought her down here in the first place. Ani, how could you disassemble the saber's hilt? She paused for a moment. With Zar's help? Yes, this was true, although Kawani couldn't explain how. As well as the prelude to the forms, I take it. Again, yes, Kawani answered. I am not upset, Ani, so please don't assume I am. This is a lot to take in, and I'm trying to work through this. You are? She thought. I understand, Ahsoka, she said. He used to be a Sith, Annie, Ahsoka said after a few moments. Here comes the airlock, Zar said to Kawani. Shut up, she thought, rolling her eyes. And half the rebellion is comprised of ex-Empire. Zar made a choice that cost him his mortality. If we stop believing a thing or person has no redeeming qualities, we are on the path to losing sight of what we are fighting for to begin with, Kawani spoke, casting her view downward. Her words even surprised her. That wasn't you, was it? She asked Zar. Nope, that was all you, he responded. Ahsoka lifted an eyebrow toward Kawani. And yes, Ahsoka, that includes Anakin. She finished her unintended statement with a fully intended flourish, raising her eyes to meet Ahsoka's gaze. Ahsoka opened her mouth and closed it, her words completely escaping her. Kawani was right, unequivocally correct, and no reply could deny it. Kawani wasn't precisely sure where that last statement had come from, only that any more time with Yoda and she would have given up her worldly possessions for a cloak and a mission to spread wisdom across the galaxy. I didn't mean to open up any wounds, Ahsoka, Kawani trailed off in apology. You didn't, Ani. I've just been baffled about his place along my path, and if I should focus any time or energy on that end. Master Yoda felt his defeat would be imminent at my hand, but also that it wasn't my destiny, that I had done all I could for him and myself. She speaks of the Jedi prophecy, Zar said. I don't know anything about that, Kawani responded in thought. Ah, but I do. If you take my meaning, Laura is what brought me to my current state. I don't, at all. This Skywalker, is he meant to bring a balance to the Force, if indeed he is the prophetic son? Zar quickly explained. Balance what? There's nothing wrong with the Force, Zar, Kawani said. Now? Perhaps. But what brought us to this point, I asked. Zar wouldn't give her all the answers. Ahsoka, I need to hear it from you. What happened to him? Kawani asked outright. It is a long story, Ani, Ahsoka said with a tinge of remorse. I am not in a rush, Kawani said. I am, Zar almost demanded. Shut up, we'll get there. Ahsoka turned to make her way back up the ramp. In time, Ani, in time. By the way, that jump I saw was a Liberator, wasn't it? She asked, turning her head slightly. Yep. I came prepared for your request, denying my coming with you because you weren't sure what we'd encounter. That it was too dangerous, or that I was not prepared. Consider it a small gift, Kawani responded with a wink of her eye. A gift? Ahsoka turned fully around. Yep, now you don't have to worry about how you're going to word your warnings or find a way for me not to come along, Kawani said with a smile. Turning her attention from Ahsoka, she extended her hand, and just as quickly the saber hilt fired right into her open palm. She ignited the blade and returned to practicing the first form sequence. Ahsoka could not help but feel relief. She had to be honest with herself, a minor annoyance at being read like a book, but also a deepening peace, joy, and calm because of those feelings. Continuing her trek back up the ramp in full, she almost tripped over her own feet when the clamoring noise of Kawani's music returned to consume the ship. The hollow image flickered again, driving Sidious's anger ever further into an inescapable realm from which it could be used to prove a point. The kneeling depiction of his apprentice had just finished accepting responsibility for the destruction of Alderaan, the planet he had hoped to wipe from the galaxy long ago. The knowledge that the meddlesome senator had been present was even better news in his opinion. How can you claim this responsibility when Moff Tarkin has already done so? He cackled at the bowed figure. Forgive me, my master, it was implied, Vader spoke, almost choking on the words. It had indeed been Moff's responsibility and decision, for that matter. It is of no consequence, Sidious interrupted, annoyed with the response he knew would be coming, more so that it came after Moff Tarkin's. The fate of that system was a trivial matter of time. What is of consequence, however, is the status of the stolen plans, Lord Vader. We will have them back in due course, Master. We have just intercepted the freighter that blasted its way out of the triplanetary system. The plans are within my grasp, Vader trailed off, willing only to identify the system through its lesser-used moniker. More to say on the matter, Lord Vader? Sidious's response was calculating, exact, and swift, missing nothing from Vader's pause. A presence, one I have not felt since Vancor, Master. The words were icy, deep, and filled with hate. Obi-Wan Kenobi? There? Sidious was genuinely surprised. How had he not foreseen this? Vancor was a tragic defeat, Lord Vader, one from which lessons have not been learned, I fear. If he is on the battle station, he must be found, Lord Vader, and destroyed. That conflict needs resolution, so we may be free to pursue our agenda. Do not fail me. Sidious responded with a returned inflection of cold directness, leaving Vader no choice but to bow to fate. What of Skywalker's Padawan, Master? Vader inquired with a measure of defiance. Sidious let the question hang between them and watched as the wavering lines of resolution wafted from top to bottom. Ah, I see then. Your motive is revealed. He began, letting Vader ponder the lack of wisdom in asking such a foolish question. Although his anger roiled from this cascade of wrongdoing he was surrounded by, now was not the time to stir the ire between him and his apprentice. Of no importance to you, apprentice. Keep your focus where it belongs and find those plans, he finally uttered. Yes, my master, Vader replied after a few long moments, his anger at being dismissed so casually rising dramatically. Now, apprentice, your emotions betray you. Firm your resolve and speak your mind. Sidious could all but taste Vader's concerted effort to withhold something. Vader composed the miasma his mind had become of late. Master, I sense a divergence within the Force. I cannot place its origins, but it is a sense I have not felt in some time. Unsure if those were the words he should have spoken, they were the best way to describe the scattered visions and recent nonsensical rebel activity. He knew something was coming and hoped his master had felt it too. Sidious did not respond. He only lamented within his thoughts, knowing full well that he had heard the very phrase of the man in the image before him. Laborious efforts to retrieve, analyze, and catalog the entirety of information within the former Jedi Temple had yielded a great deal of interesting proclamations at an almost entertaining level. But then, his apprentice had exhibited a practically maniacal drive to face his former Padawan. To what purpose, he could only speculate. A divergence, you say? Odd that I have not felt it. Perhaps your judgment on the matter is clouded by many things, Lord Vader. Vengeance? Ambitions? Hate? The words spoken with straightforward emphasis. Indeed, he had felt something, and dispatched the Fifth Fleet to satiate his curiosity. If this is concerning Tano, yet again, no. Deep, guttural, and booming, an immediate response came, the hollow image flickering erratically with wild static patterns. Sidious could see various data screens and terminals sparking wildly behind the Dark Lord. A cold wave spun up his spine as he momentarily lost some of the feeling in his fingers. Then what, Lord Vader? Sidious asked, not indicating his surprise at what Vader had just done. Perhaps you are more finely attuned to the Force than your master? He needed to regain control of this conversation. Vader did not respond immediately. He knew he needed to respond with some semblance of diplomacy, but Darth Sidious was beginning to become something else entirely to him, and he wasn't sure he even cared anymore about what the old man would do or say. Perhaps the apprentice can view matters free of distraction in ways the master cannot. Damn the consequences, he thought. The man needed to be brought down a level or two. Sidious was a rolling mass of rage. He hadn't been spoken to like that since he was an apprentice himself. Reason found a path through the rage as he pondered Vader's words. He knew this would require a tactical solution, not an aggressive one. yet he could not fully decide whether to criticize the apprentice for his insolence or congratulate him for being so direct. He opted for a more political angle. "To what are you referring, Lord Vader?" Vader was silent, not expecting this dialogue, but quickly got his proverbial feet under him. "Master, although impressive, this station will not suffice in hunting down the rebel fleet. They do not operate from a solitary refuge, but rather as a scattered collective that can amass at a moment's notice from anywhere in the galaxy. This station is only going to drive more to their cause. Allow me to deploy the fleets with more tactical control, and we will make shorter work of them." It was not at all what he had wanted to say, but the rare opportunity to speak his mind freely to his master fostered the importance of regaining control over the Endeavor. It was not at all what Sidious was expecting, but it was pleasing to hear nonetheless. He, too, understood this. When fighting insurgency, one needs to employ more aggressive plans of action. His apprentice had been feared for his naval tactics in the Clone Wars. It was time to utilize that knowledge again. However, how this related to avergence or divergence he had yet to glean from his apprentice. The second and third fleets will be at your disposal. With the Executor, I will also commission the Ravager and your guard. Find and destroy Kenobi, Lord Vader, and hunt the rebels to your content." "Thank you, Master," Vader replied quickly, wasting no time and feeling empowered by the promise. "What of this divergence, Lord Vader? It seems I have yet to remove that shroud," Sidious inserted, alleviating at least one of the Dark Lord's concerns, yet needing clarification. Yes, he had sensed a disturbance, many of them as of late, but would never have gone so far as to claim they were on the brink of avergence. "I am sure it is centered around the re-emergence of Kenobi, Master," Vader said, retaining a majority of his insight to himself. "Perhaps, but avergence would foretell of some significance. If it is indeed his doing, then why now?" Vader pondered it, ignoring the question within. Perhaps more Jedi are stepping from the shadows. A concerted effort is possible. Sidious considered it. Now that would be significant indeed. That his apprentice divined the possible scenario was both admirable and surprising. "We will revisit the topic presently, apprentice. For the time being, learn what you can from Kenobi, then destroy the Jedi." Vader inclined his head to venture another opinion, but the image was already dissolving as the holo emitter powered down. Sidious knew his apprentice had more on his mind. That confrontation would be forthcoming, he also knew. Darth Vader was nearing his flashpoint and would soon turn on him. He could sense the anger within him. It flowed as quickly as the Force throughout him and had consumed him fully. His rage, channeled properly, will make him extremely dangerous. However, he couldn't decide if that was either a benefit or a detriment. Placating the Dark Lord would only temporarily vent the savagery within him. Finding a long-term solution was becoming paramount. Vader stared at his holo-emitter long after the equipment had powered down and returned the room to darkness. A somber visage was gazing back at him, reflections from the tack screen opposing the holotable he was viewing but not seeing, and staring but perceiving nothing. He knew exactly what his vergence pertained to, and Obi-Wan was just its beginning. His explanation to his master was only partially proper, as it was phrased as speculation. He knew there were many more participants involved. He was sensing Kenobi, yes, but also that of Grandmaster Yoda, his former apprentice, Grandmaster Windu, and faceless Jedi from his distant past. What it all meant he had no idea, but he was confident his master did, and was keeping it from him. He clenched his fists and looked back at the reflection more fervently. Red and green lights adorning a midnight black suit, his only means of survival outside of his chamber. Echoes forever ringing throughout his very being from the regulated breathing his suit maintained. Then, the contents of the suit itself. Cybernetic appendages destroyed the nervous system and obliterated his heart. They had all taken everything from him. How could there be nothing but hate remaining? hate, and memory, he would retake all he had lost, beginning with Kenobi. Please consider a like and sub. It is YouTube's way of getting these to more people. I am less concerned with subs as I am with getting the story out there, and I need your help to do that. Thank you.